Listen up. There's no more excuses. We're empowering those who want the hustle by exposing the status quo.
The days of ordinary are over.
It's time to crush mediocrity and start discovering your greatest potential.
Welcome to the Hustle Nation. To the Hustle Nation. To the Hustle Nation. To the Hustle Nation.
Welcome back to another episode of the Hustle Nation podcast. Today, as always, a real treat. Mr. Alex Sheridan is in the house. Alex is the Chief Video Officer at Untapped Marketing. He is a video marketing, social media strategist, training, and coach. Alex, welcome to the show.
Hey, glad to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
Bet.
Thanks for being here. So we got connected on LinkedIn, and as a marketing professional myself, I love to bring marketing people on the show. One of the big things today that's on my mind, as it should be on a lot of other people's, is the power of personal brand, but more importantly, developing that through video. And a big part of what you do is video marketing. And before we get into all that fun stuff, though, I want to hear about your journey because you've been in business for a while, been an entrepreneur. How did all this come about for you?
So I was in B2B sales for about 10 years. My last company that I was at was a corporate job, big multi-billion-dollar company doing staffing and recruiting sales. So, I did quite well in there. I struggled like most salespeople do in the beginning, but I was knocking on doors. I was sending emails, dialing phone, cold calls every single day. That was my life. And then about 2018 rolled around, 2019, I said, I really have this entrepreneurial itch that I really wanted to scratch. And I didn't know quite what it looked like, but I just knew I had some creativity inside me, some talents inside me. I feel like I just had a bigger mission than what I was doing within my job. Not that there was anything wrong with it, but I just felt like there was something else. There was a bigger way for me to make an impact in the world. I've kind of always felt that way. And so I dabbled with a couple of different things. I said, I'm going to be a sales coach, a sales trainer, because that's what I knew. I was doing that for my company. I was training other reps and things like that. And I got on LinkedIn and started creating video content and kind of social selling, and everything really changed. And I just realized that, wait a second, instead of having to constantly hunt people down and be the hunter, I would put out valuable based content that would attract my target audience and become the hunted. And that was like a completely different angle that I've never experienced before, but I just decided to really lean into it. And it was a couple of things. It was one that I saw that, hey, this is a unique opportunity that I don't think a lot of companies are taking advantage of. This is prior to COVID, mind you, right? So that now it wasn't like everyone was thinking so digitally and so video back then. Like it was a thing, but it wasn't as nearly as a thing as it is now. And I said, I want to lean into this. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I also just quite honestly enjoyed it. I liked making videos. I liked speaking in front of people. I was a pretty decent communicator and influencer. So for those reasons, I went all in, man. And that was the start of the journey. I won my first customer February 2020. 6 months later, July 2020, I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice at corporate and replace my 6-figure income, and the rest is history.
Wow. When did you know all of this was actually not just possible, but scalable to where it is now?
To be honest, man, in the early days, I didn't even think about scalable and offerings all that much in price point. I just knew I had the mentality of I'm going to make this work or I die. That was my mindset. And when I went all in 2019 is really when I went all in. And I just said, you know what? I'll work hard enough. I'm talented enough. I'll find a way. I'll persevere. What's the worst that happens? I, go all the way to the bottom and then I got to, get a job or do something else, even though I didn't really think that would ever happen. I just thought that I think so beyond the scalability, I think there was just two things. I think because I look back now and I'm like, oh, I should have done this with my offers and recurring revenue. And I think about this from a business mindset now, almost like a business coach now, but I didn't have that experience or knowledge back then. I think I just thought, hey, is there a big need in the marketplace to learn how to create video, connect with your target customers on places like LinkedIn and through social selling and messaging and things like that? And do I really enjoy doing it and want to do this for the next several years? And then thirdly, do I think I'm pretty good at it? And the answer to that question, the answer to all of those questions was yes. Yes, there's a need. Yes, I want to be doing this years from now. And yes, I think I'm pretty good at this to give me enough of an edge to get going here and find success. So it really came down to those three things.
So I'm curious, as you first got into it, coming from a very outbound B2B approach. A lot of what you talk about today, right, with the video and things like that, is far more about creating awareness to generate inbound. As you were kind of starting down this path in particular, and then maybe now, how did you kind of work yourself through that? Because I mean, you had so much success in kind of that outbound space, and I think that's a lot of times what many organizations get addicted to, because it does work. I mean, it is math, right? So I'm just curious, like how did you kind of see that transition and have so much confidence kind of making that shift for your own business?
So I think some of the best marketers understand sales really well, and they understand the customer really well. And that was, for me, it was like, honestly, I had some insecurities coming into marketing, because like I heard a lot of terms that I didn't know. Honestly, I was like backlinks and MQLs and the SQ. and honestly, I'd sit in some of these calls in these rooms and I'd be like, what the hell are they talking about? Right? Like, I don't even know I know winning customers. I know adding pipeline. I know generating real revenue for the business. They'd be like, the leads coming in. I'd be like, leads? People get leads? Because I never got leads. I had to go literally find every single lead that I ever had and
Novel
build territories
concept.
from nothing to contest winning territories. So now what I thought was an insecurity, and I was like, I can't tell people I don't know this stuff, actually turned into a strength. Because what I ended up finding out, that a lot of these numbers and terms were bullcrap. Like they were not being tracked the right way, or they were just meaningless to begin with, or the things they were trying to track didn't map the actions, and vice versa. And it was just backwards. Like I realized that marketing was broken. And so from my perspective, I was like, well, I understand the customer really well, because that's all I talked to. That's all I called on. I understood that I didn't need to use fancy language and confuse them and talk about we're the most sophisticated technological company. It's like I understood nobody cared about that stuff. They had real problems, they had real pain points, and they wanted solutions, and they wanted you to talk to them like how they understand the language and the business and the industry. And so when I started creating content and video, specifically on LinkedIn is where I started, I just brought that same knowledge and energy and mindset to my content, and it started working so well. It cut through the corporate noise in a lot of ways. I brought some humor and emotion to the videos through edutainment. I spoke in their language. I addressed things that they actually cared about. And that's what started converting into real revenue. So, and then on the flip side, you could go back to cold calling and sending emails. The problem with that is you're starting at zero equity every single day. I did sales for 10 years and 6 years of the same company. I was at ground zero after 6 years, meaning that if I wanted to go to start a new territory, which I did, nobody knew me. I had no personal brand. I had no equity whatsoever. With personal brand building and through video, wherever you go, whatever you start, you're never starting from zero. You're starting from, I have equity in myself and in my brand. And that means whatever companies I touch, I bring that with me.
Excellent.
I love the conversation about personal brand. I've tried to tell this to a lot of people over the years, and I do this workshop it's called Your Business Starts with Your Personal Brand, because whether you're an employee and you never want to be an entrepreneur like the three of us, or whether you're a salesperson or a coach, you always have that. You have that foundation you can build off. But the thing I fear more today than ever is, through our podcast, I've posted probably close to 1,000 videos in the last 18 months through our many, many episodes. And what I've found is that organic reach with videos, organic reach in general is already really low, but with videos, it seems to be harder and harder to stand out because of the competition. Is that true, or is it just more that it's got to be really good video?
Well, I think on a lot of platforms, video is the only medium. like if you go to YouTube, It's really the only medium is video. If you go to TikTok, really the only medium is video. If you go to Instagram and Facebook now, there's other stuff, but video has become very dominant. So here's what I'll say about video. I think video is the most challenging format to get good at, right? Because it is. It just is, right? You can write behind the scenes, you can write from your keyboard, you can have someone help, you can edit it, you can use ChatGPT. The reality with video is you got a lot of moving components. You got a lot of things going. You got the audio, you got the visual, you got you being able to deliver your message in a somewhat interesting way. You've got nonverbal, verbal, like you just got, there's a lot of dynamics. You've got lighting and this and that. So it's more advanced. It is. But I think that's the reason that you should be building skills around it, because if you get really good at it, my philosophy is there's a lot of people putting out not so good or average videos. The people that get really good at it typically stand out much more than the people that get really, really good at text or visuals and things like that. So I think it's like anything. It's like, oh, video I think is challenging. I'm like, yeah, no shit. Like anything you want to do in life, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be a father, you want to be a mother, whatever you want to do, yeah, there's going to be some challenge to it. And I think that's a lot of the amazingness that comes with it, is because it is challenging.
Sure. So as you've kind of built out your company around the video marketing and things like that, how do you balance that the inbound and outbound piece, right? So again, going back to kind of, you had some outbound routes, and I know one of the things you talk a lot about, which is very true, right? Like video lives on forever, right? So it can be working 24/7 in a lot of ways, but
Depending on where it's at, yeah.
Right, yeah. So I get,
Yeah.
how do you kind of balance the inbound outbound discussion? I think is always an interesting one, because I think there are camps where it's like it's only outbound, and then there's camps where it's only inbound. And at least the experience I've had is it's really both, but it's how you weight them and how you tie them together. And so just curious, like how you've seen that and kind of how you view those two different worlds.
Yeah, and I think, as someone that's very promotional of inbound marketing and things like that, I love the inbounds, but I also do think there's a place for the outbound too. I think it's definitely an and conversation. It's a both. But I think in the beginning, you're doing a lot of outbound in the very beginning. So even when I was starting to create and posting content on LinkedIn and creating content in general back in 2019, a lot of it was inbound, but or a lot of it was outbound. But what happened was the inbound helped facilitate the outbound, and the outbound helped facilitate the inbound. So I almost use them together as one kind of strategy, right? Because the more you engage, let's say on LinkedIn, you engage with somebody, you send messages, you're now getting that person in your feed because it's a social graph. So now next time I posted, they'd see my videos, right? The inbound was allowing me to reach out to prospects and start a warm conversation, because maybe they didn't reach out and book a call, but maybe they'd seen my videos or they checked out my profile. And now I'm just nudging them a little bit, saying, hey, what's going on with this? Or, hey, I saw you're doing this. Awesome. Like, what do you think about, I would just start conversations. So I think in the beginning, you're doing much more of the outbound because you don't have the inbound machine yet. Whereas if you look back now, 4 years later, I do way less outbound because I've got the inbound machine working for me. So now it's like, I just again, nudge people here and there. If I see a good prospect that's visiting my profile, I might just reach out and say, hey, thanks for checking out my profile. Appreciate it, man. Just out of curiosity, anything stick out to you? Anything stand out? Anything interesting? So I'm just like kind of nudge her. Hey, thanks for liking my video the other day. Hey, I saw you started doing videos last week. Awesome, man. How's it going? So I think they fuel each other for sure. But I think it's not about, hey, we just need to stop the outbound and only do inbound. I'm sure you would agree. It's probably not the best idea if you want to stay in business. But I think as you're doing the outbound, you start to build the inbound machine over the course of months and years, so that you rely on the outbound less, and the outbound becomes much warmer, faster close rates, better wind, all these things happen as a result of content.
Alex, I love your reference to the machine. For those listening that might not be as marketing savvy, what are the components? What is in this marketing machine, or inbound machine, as you call it?
So we like to refer it as the video sales rep strategy. And so there's kind of 4 buckets under this. And so what the philosophy behind this is that if you position video content the right way, it can sell for you 24/7. You've got 4 different buckets of video content. You got buyer ready videos, right? So for an example, you go to my website right now, you've seen my content from LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, wherever. You're now on my website and you're, man, I think I want to work with this person, this company. What he said, I've been watching his videos now for the last couple months, and it's really interesting. I think we need to be doing this in our business. Now you're on the website. What you don't see is confusing language, me hiding my pricing, me not addressing the common questions as a customer. You see the opposite. You see me addressing that stuff. We have a video about pricing and our offerings and how we work with customers and who we're right for and who we're not right for. So that's me selling for the company as I'm playing with my kids or doing podcast, right? Then you've got nurture videos, which are more like video email series, let's call them, or potentially online courses, materials, things that people have kind of opted into. So you're just nurturing them along the way. Maybe they're not ready to actually buy or book a call, but you've now got them in your ecosystem. And then the other two are search-based videos, which are things like YouTube, potentially the podcast, where people might be searching for something, your area of expertise, and your content comes up, your video comes up. And then you've got feed-based videos, which are creating demand and high levels of awareness in feed-based platforms like your LinkedIn, your TikTok, your YouTube Shorts. So you're kind of getting people in, feed, search, nurture, buyer ready, boom, client.
That's awesome.
It's the high level. And then you repurpose content, right? So we're skipping some things here just for the sake of time, but we're repurposing videos, which means we're taking one long form and we're making it 8 to 10 micro clips, or we're taking some of the videos that we're making on YouTube and we're creating vertical videos for YouTube Shorts and things like that.
So I meant, one of the things with video, I think there's a lot of people that have a lot of hesitancy around video just because they maybe haven't been in front of crowds or been on videos. And I know even for myself, I do a lot more of it than I used to, but I still should probably do a heck of a lot more than I do. But I think a lot of times it's this, call it imposter syndrome, call it what you may have, like, do I have anything really important to say? And so, as you started to get out there, I'm curious, did you have, for lack of a better way of saying it, did you have those voices in your head, and how did you really work to go overcome that? Because I feel like a lot of times with things like this, it's just people never start.
Yeah. And if you guys remember before COVID, if you were, at least for me in sales, nobody was doing video calls before COVID. Like I did sales for 10 years and literally I did not do one video call my entire career. So like, it's funny how everyone adapted pretty fast, right? When we had to get on video, we all got on video. It wasn't a massive problem. You were like, oh my God, there's waves of companies and people that can't do video. They can't get on these video calls. And no, everyone figured it out. It's like, we're way overcomplicating it. But I'll say to your point about the imposter syndrome, for me personally, what worked, because I had the voices of, like, especially being from sales, coming to marketing, I was like, oh, who's this guy? He doesn't know everything. And I think what really helped me is a couple of things. One, I really tried my best just to speak my truth and what I was going through. So I didn't talk, 20 levels up like I'm helping billion-dollar companies with their marketing strategies back in 2019, because I wasn't. Today I could. But back then, no, I would have been lost. I would have looked like, well, I have no clue how to implement this at a company, but I can help you with your LinkedIn presence, So I kind of like just spoke to where I was at and the things that I was learning. The second thing that really helped me is that I really believed in what I was saying, and I believed that it was helping make an impact on other people in a positive way. So I think that's if you're sitting there saying, I've got imposter syndrome, or I'm kind of like feeling insecure about, if I talk about this, are the people going to come at me? And people will, right? It's just, you get haters. That's good. That's awesome. But at the same time, is it impactful? Is it valuable? And is it your truth? Are you speaking to things that you're really living and doing and honoring? Because if you're not, then that's when I think you're going to feel really big imposter syndrome, because you're talking about stuff that you're not actually doing. That's a problem.
Alex, I want to go back to your 4 buckets, which I really enjoyed. One of them was nurture, and you mentioned email marketing. So if someone's maybe newer in the B2B space, and that is an area of interest where they say, hey, we obviously want to go all in on video, but simultaneously, we really value email marketing and the opportunity. How do we go about either building or doubling down so that they can create a list? So in other words, how do we leverage video to also build maybe an email list or something we can use for connecting with folks who may not be on social media as much?
Well, I think the reality is you're going to have to find nurture videos, which would be, the email videos. You're going to have to get the name and email address first, right? So that's going to have to come from somewhere. Now, maybe you're at trade shows, maybe you've got an email list, maybe you are using social media. At some point, they typically are opting. But once they opt in and you say, hey, we want to use video and emails, what should we be doing? I'll give you a couple different things. One, you start a video email series, right? So you start a video series. That's like what we have called the Video Sales Rep series. And so what we do is we just feed people different, there's a 5-part series. That's different episodes per series or per email. and they get fed episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then at the end, there's another email with more call to action. There's some call to actions throughout. And then they're on the email list now. So they get the weekly and biweekly emails. Now they're part of the ecosystem, right? That really doesn't shut off until if they decide to opt out, which they can. So you build a series around what is something that our customers really want to know about our industry or area of expertise that we're really good at, that we can teach via email, via video, through the email series. And so for us, it was how to build, video as a 24/7 sales rep for your business. So you may see my content, or I may speak to you at an event, or we may be on a podcast like this, and this may get brought up and people say, oh, I'm going to go sign up for that series. And now they're in that content ecosystem. The other thing is you could just send single emails out, right? You could just say, hey, we're sending, instead of a text email, we're going to use ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, whatever you use, HubSpot, and we're just going to embed video in the actual email to say, hey, we're giving you something a little bit different today. And usually they're getting text, and now they're getting you on camera, you on video, delivering some type of valuable message. So those would be the ways I would start: single videos and emails through something like a newsletter, and then, or create kind of the next level, I think, is create a video series, and you automate it. So we set it up in ActiveCampaign where everything's automated. So once they sign up, boom, we wait a couple of days, they get the email, or they get the first email right away. Episode 1, wait a couple of days, boom, episode 2, another trigger, episode 3. At any point, they can go straight to binge watch, and they'll be taken off the automation and sent right to the bottom of that automation sequence where they've binge watched, and now they're tagged. They've binge watched the video series, and now they move on to the other part of the email sequence. So it kind of got a little technical there, but that's how I'd work it from a video email series.
I love it. I love to get technical when it comes to marketing, especially the automation side.
Nerding out, man. Nerding out.
What's up, listeners? I just wanted to say thank you for being a part of the Hustle Nation community. We are absolutely thrilled and honored that you listen to our show. I wanted to take a break to share a special resource with you. I'm talking about our 2020 Vision Guide. This is a pivotal tool we use in our workshops where participants typically invest thousands of dollars for transformative experiences. Imagine having a crystal clear, actionable roadmap to not just meet, but exceed your personal and professional goals. That's the power of the 2020 Vision Guide. And here's the best part. We're offering it to you for free. This is your chance to leverage a tool that has propelled hundreds of people achieve unparalleled success. Visit our website now. I'm including the URL in the show notes below, where you can download our guide and start your journey toward clarity and achievement. Don't wait. It's time to create the life you deserve today. Now back to the show.
So one of the other things you mentioned, Alex, was around the haters. And it's okay to have the haters. And I think I know Chris and I have talked about this. It was started a couple of years ago. I decided to get a lot more active on LinkedIn. And when I first started kind of going down that path, I was like, I don't know if I have anything to say. I don't know what, I can only imagine what people are going to comment about or anything like that. And so I'm curious, obviously you're at a very different level than where I am. And so just curious, as you went through that, you have that mindset, right? Of like, hey, bring on the haters. You're going to have that. How do you work through that early as you're going through that transformation? Because, at least what I saw is early, everybody's very positive. You're not super controversial, everybody's very positive and good comments and all that sort of stuff. But as you start to get a little edgier and frankly, just further down the path, then the haters start popping in. So just kind of curious about how you work through that, not only through the process, but then even still today.
Yeah. And I think early on, you don't get a lot of haters because no one's seeing your content.
Right.
So it's like, you're just not even being seen, but like you're a speck on the radar. Right. So, it typically what happens in life is that whether it's business or not, is that the more you become successful, or the more, let's call it, attention, fame, whatever you want to call it, right? The more people deem you as kind of moving up in the world or in business or in status, the more people want to bring you down because that makes them feel uncomfortable. And even even friends and family do this to a lot of times, sometimes unintentionally. where they'll see you making changes and growing, you're doing this, and you're posting on LinkedIn. Why are you posting on LinkedIn? It's like, dude, you're making videos and stuff. Like, why are you doing that? No one's going to watch. Because now you're making them feel like, well, I'm not growing. I'm not doing that. And this person is. It makes me feel less now, even though that's not how it was. It wasn't like you were both here and and you moved up. Dude, they're over here and you're over in a different world and you're just doing your thing, right? So I think early on, my videos were a little bit out there because I did the edutainment, a lot of skit videos and that kind of stuff, back in 2020. And, I got occasional comments where people say this doesn't belong on LinkedIn or whatever it is. But I think at the end of the day, and I'd go to their profile and see that they said like, hey, cutie to like 20 girls. Like that was their last 20 comments on LinkedIn. And I'm thinking,
Nice.
yeah, this is a real stand-up individual here. My thing on haters, man, is I think they're good. I think that you need them. I think that they come with the more attention you get, the more you start doing business and finding success. You're just going to find that people kind of want to see you fall. That's, it's the same reason we want to see the undefeated boxer and why Mayweather had such high success for a long time is because people just wanted to see him get that L. Just, God, I want to see this person come off their high horse and lose because it makes us feel better, or most people feel better. Now I try to be as there's sometimes I think I'm a human. There's sometimes it kind of fires you up. And I think it really only fires you up if you're a little bit insecure about what they said. So if they said something and there's a little bit of sliver of truth to it, it can kind of get you fired up. Mm-hmm. But if there's complete non-truth to it, it typically doesn't bother you as much. But what I've tried to do today, man, or what I try to do now, and it's always a work in progress. And this is on social. This is haters anywhere. This is someone cut you off. I try, and this has worked pretty well so far. I try to say that's someone's son or daughter. And I try to say that's, be easy on that soul, because they're coming from a dark spot. If they're sitting there at home or wherever they're at, or if it's out in public and they're hating on you as a person that's just simply trying to put out good into the world and share your perspective and trying to build something meaningful. And they're going to hate on your stuff for no reason. They have no clue who you are. That person's not in a good spot. Like I just know that. And we all know that, right? So if you're finding success and you're happy and you're living life and you feel like you're doing pretty well, you're not finding random people to hate on. I can promise you that. It's not even on your radar. Just wouldn't even compute. So that's it.
I think that's excellent. I think one of the other things you said was really about the fuel, right? Using it as fuel. I'm very big into college basketball. So is my son, and we were watching a game the other day, and the opposing team has this guard that is kind of the one you love to hate. Mm-hmm. And so my son, he's 14, he was getting all fired up about it. He's like, I hate that guy, right? I'm like, well, look, if he sucked, no one would hate him. That you hate him because he's good and he stabs you in the heart. Like it's not that it's not like this guy was a hothead or anything like that. I'm like, yeah, no wonder I hate him too. He's kicking the crap out of us. Like, I get it. So, but I think that's such an interesting point with the haters of use it as fuel because if they're hating on you, to your point, I think that's a great perspective. Sometimes they have their own stuff going on and that's them. That's not you. And then two, nobody hates on the loser, right? People are going to hate on the winner, right? So use that as fuel for the next one. This
didn't happen to be the Illinois Badger game yesterday, did it?
It was not. No, it was not that game. The guard shall remain anonymous just because
Fair. Yeah. Fair enough. Alex, that's also great. We talk about mindset so much, and I love that you bring that up because I think that's important. But I want to switch gears back to video and let's call it customer journey. So let's say your videos are working and you've got people that are moving from your videos or your social media profiles to your website. How do you get the individuals on a journey and on a journey where you create interest, where you get them maybe going to your pricing page and you get them doing more? Is it, we're talking about video for social media? Does that differentiate from the video on your website? And if so, how do we create a journey or a path for someone to become aware, to a follower, to a client, and then an advocate?
So I think the important thing to remember, and just kind of a mindset, more of a perspective thing, is that we don't necessarily get them on the journey. They go on the journey themselves, the customer buyer journey. Our job is on that journey, is to best support them and to be the guide along the way that they're looking for. So they're going to make their mind up when they want to go from a LinkedIn video to your LinkedIn profile to your website to the pricing page. We obviously want to make that clear and easy to do, right? We don't want to confuse them along the way or have unclear messaging and branding or positioning or make it impossible to find the link to go there. But they're going to go at their own pace because it is their journey. Our job is to know, what does the typical journey look like, and what does a customer look for and want along the way on that customer buyer journey. And we know from all the research that customers are now 60 to 80% of the way sold and through the buyer journey by the time they talk to a salesperson. So what do they want? They want education for free. They want to be educated on making these decisions. They want frequently asked questions. They want to see pricing. They want it to be transparent. They want you to be authentic. They don't want you to hide things. By the way, neither do we, right? We forget what it's like to be the customer sometimes. We don't want people to hide stuff from us. If we go to Amazon or we go to a website or we want to buy a car, we want to see the pricing. We want to see the models. We want to see the difference between this and this is. We want to get our common questions answered. So that's what they want. And so the website content is set up in a way where it's more bottom of the funnel. It's okay to talk about, this is who we're right for as a company, and this is who we're not right for. And here are the first 3 months of working with us. This is what it's like. And this is how we measure success. And this is our pricing. And this is what drives price up and down based on our products and services or in our industry. That some of that content could go on social, but it's typically not going to do as well, because when people log on to LinkedIn or TikTok or YouTube, they're not thinking, I'd like to see the pricing for this company's page today. Like, typically not, right? We're all selfish. We want to be edutained or educated or inspired or whatever that the case may be, depending on the platform it is. So I think knowing where the audience is, mapping out the customer buyer journey, and then just kind of tailoring the videos and the content based on where they're showing up is the key.
So one of the questions that I always think is, when you talk about different steps of that journey, specifically at the top of the funnel, right, from an awareness perspective, to your point, I'm a sales guy at heart as well, right? So, the bottom of the funnel stuff, tends to make sense. I think sometimes on the awareness side, when you talk about like edutainment and things like that, there's so much noise out there, right? And it's how do you create awareness around something? Are there things that you've seen that, for lack of a better way of saying it, like questions you can ask yourself, or questions you can ask yourself as you're interacting with your clients, right? Because they're obviously a great way for you to kind of find out where are they in different parts of the journey. Questions to ask yourself or them to find out what would be the things that might actually grab them at the awareness stage.
I got a really good one for you. So it definitely is part talking to your customers and knowing your customers, obviously. I think that's a big component that most people would say, yes, I understand that, even though they don't put out content that addresses their customers' questions and concerns and fears and stuff like that. But that's a whole other topic. The other side of it, though, is understanding your unique perspective and narrative on the industry, your differentiation. So this gets missed a lot, where companies say, okay, we're going to talk about some of the things that our customers care about in our videos. Amazing. Great. But what they end up doing is regurgitating tips or doing ChatGPT lazy prompts. And it's like, here's 3 things. And what happens is they end up posting just a lot of information, a lot of commodity. So they either just don't stand out at all, or they just blend in the sea of sameness with every other company that's doing the same thing. So your job as a company, as when you're starting to create content, is that they first think about, all right, who's our customers, pain points, their desires, all that stuff. But what's our unique take on this? What do we do that's so different than other companies? Most companies have this. They just haven't figured out a way to articulate it yet, or they haven't owned the language around it, and they haven't driven the language around it. And I'll give you tactically 3 things. Thinking about differentiation. First differentiation is you got philosophy. That could be very different than what your industry thinks. So you got philosophical differentiation, okay? That is, how do we think about the industry from a high level? So that could be me saying, I don't think most B2B companies should be using a lot of marketing agencies and outsourcing all their content. I think they should be building their own internal content video teams. That's a philosophical difference than most marketing companies, right? We get down to the next level. That's philosophical. Then there's strategic differentiations. So now we're talking more strategy, more implementation. Now, I would help. The thing is, it's got to tie back into your offerings and what you do, right? You can't just talk the talk. I help companies build internal video content teams. So that aligns, right? Aligns with my offerings. The second would be the strategy or the strategic differentiation. That would be something like the video sales rep strategy, right? Where we've got specific strategies. That's one example that we help customers implement that nobody else that you interview or talk to is going to say, yeah, we've got a video sales rep strategy. No, you don't, right? Like if you do, you ripped it off me, whatever. So that's from a strategy standpoint. Think about what you do is how you do is different. And then you talk about that in your content. And again, ties back in your offerings. And then the third one would be tactical differentiations. So that might be something where we're using edutainment and we're talking about how to use edutainment in your videos to attract more customers, increase the performance. It could be, we have a GEMS framework, which is like a tactical framework that you go through to make better videos. And so those are kind of the three different layers. Yes, customers and get inside their head and know them really well, absolutely have to have that. But also don't forget the unique differentiators and to bring that unique point of view or narrative to the industry that you want to share because you think it benefits your customers, it benefits the industry, and ultimately ties back into what you do.
Alex, this is perfect timing because I feel like Dustin and I had a very similar conversation to that this morning. And, you're talking about philosophy, positioning, tactical stuff. Some of the undercurrent to this conversation, I feel like, is positioning.
For sure.
And to me, positioning is maybe one of the most underappreciated and overlooked, possibly while simultaneously being the most important element of marketing. And I am not the positioning expert. However, I feel once you have really good positioning, therefore good messaging, and you can let that cascade into some of this video content, boy, can someone have a disproportionate advantage. Do you agree?
1,000%, man. 1,000%. And what you'll find is when you got your positioning down and you have those differentiations, customers come to you and they go, man, I was looking for something like what you do. And everything aligned with what we were looking for. The onboarding process is much smoother. The clients get better results. Your content hits the exact target clients, the dream clients that you're looking to attract. And it completely repels the type of clients that you don't want to attract. So positioning is everything in content. Like that is, it's probably, yeah, I would agree. It's probably one of the most important aspects of creating video content is getting that positioning down first, the differentiation.
So, I could talk about this just for days. I just find it fascinating and I love to learn about this stuff. But for those listening, how do you take someone, and there are a lot of leaders and coaches that listen to this show. So how do you take something as generic as coaching and create an irresistible positioning statement or statements for an organization or a small business like that?
I think coaching and consulting is one of the easiest industries to do it in because it's basically all mindset, intellectual property. It's how you think about things, right? If you sell a widget or you sell a commodity tool, or maybe it's a service that is done like, staffing and recruiting, there's a lot of, like, I find clients sometimes in that industry have trouble saying, well, we staff the same engineers that everyone else does, right? And it's like, okay, but how do we think about it? How's our process different? Think about how, take a couple steps back and say, how do we think about the industry different than our competitors? What are some of the things that we do when we work with customers that are a little bit different or maybe a lot different than how others do it? What are some of the results that we get for our clients that others we see fail to get to because they don't do it that way? And then the key here is like, you've got a mentor once told me, own the language and drive the language. So sometimes and often cases, you have a lot of this kind of IP and this stuff internally that you do differently. You haven't framed it. You haven't put a name on it. You haven't coined it, right? So there are terms that we have like hustle, like mindset, like a story brand, right? Like they ask you answer or they ask you answer. There's all these different frameworks that are out there. Those people didn't 10X. Those people didn't do that unintentionally. They did that very intentionally. They went to the marketplace with a unique perspective. They owned the language, and then they drove the language for years. And now we're still talking about it decades later.
Boom. That's pretty good. I hope everybody listening takes something away from that.
Well, what I think is so critical about it is to your point in coaching and consulting, it takes the ambiguous and makes it a lot more solid, right? It makes it a thing.
For sure. For sure. I mean, think about it. I'm on a call with someone like, so video marketing strategy training coach. I got it. Okay. So how are you different? Well, we serve the B2B industry. We serve no, like I can actually walk through. And what you end up doing is you end up not trying to sell a company in, you end up trying to screen a company out. So I say, hey, is the founder and CEO ready to get on video and become a key person of influence through video? Are you ready to position video as a 24/7 sales rep around the company? Are you ready to build your own internal content team? Or do you want to outsource 100% of it? Because if so, we're not going to be the right company for you. Are you ready to, and so what you end up doing is companies say, we want to do that. Yeah. Versus the company that's like, we do video marketing, we do this, we'd love to work with you. And so it just changes the whole game, because when you have this uniqueness about you and the way you serve your clients and the way you operate your business, you're only right for certain clients. You're wrong for a lot of clients. So you screen people out better. You only take on the best customers, right price points. So yeah, I think it bleeds over into a lot of other aspects of the business, not just the content.
Well, I think that also does is when you think through that kind of screening out, right? Like they're interviewing you, but you're interviewing them back. What also comes out of that is your philosophies and your differentiation flow through that, right? So to your point, just by asking that question, it's like, okay, well, this is who I'm not right for. This is who I am. Well, wait a second. Why wouldn't you want to work with me just because I want to outsource this?
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you why. Just the way I view the world. I've never thought of it that way, right? So I think it's a very good insight to how to approach it. And in a lot of ways, when I think of like sales and sales coaching and sales training and things like that, I think one of the things that so many people are seeking is the phrase, the unique thing that they're going to say that's going to light their world on fire. When in reality, and we've seen this time and time again, it really starts with mindset, because the right words come out when you get people framed right.
Yeah. You start doing the work. You got to do the work. Yeah,
exactly. Versus, I'm in the insurance business, so there's lots of salespeople around it, right? And everybody's like, "Oh, I said this, and that got me that." And it's like, okay, you know what? Maybe you did, but that probably had nothing to do with it. There was probably 100 other things that happened, right, wrong, or indifferent, that led you to that. I guarantee you that one phrase didn't win you the deal. Like it just did. Humans are much more sophisticated than that.
Right.
But to your point, that when you have that different mindset of this is the value I provide, this is the philosophy I have, and then this is who I'm right for and not right for.
And you talk about it so much through your content. You're so consistent with it through your videos, your text, your picture posts, that what you find is companies come to you, whether it's 1 month or 3 or 6 or 12 months later, and they say, you've really taught us how to build you've talked a lot about this internal video content team, and we've already started to implement some of the video sales rep strategy, but now we're ready. We need someone like you to come in and really help us take it to the next level. And you're thinking, wow, they worked for me through my content, and now we're already on the second layer of working together, and the sales process is so smooth because I helped them get to that level 1 or level 2. Now they're ready to go to level 3 or 4. So you change perspectives. You're trying to change the mindset of a customer in a lot of ways, and sometimes that's how-to content. Other times that's a philosophical difference, but that's it. It's influence. We're trying to, at the end of the day, we're trying to influence people through content.
So in other words, take lead. Be the leader in the conversation, whether you're creating content or having a consultation call. Take the lead. Alex, I want to be respectful of your time because I know you got to hop off soon. Before I let you go, what would be one maybe simple and quick tip you could give to somebody who's out there who's either looking to double down on video or maybe kind of just getting started that you haven't mentioned already?
I think the most tangible thing to do is study the people that do it really well. So whether that's YouTube, whether that's LinkedIn, whether that's, you see good websites that you want to kind of emulate, look at the people who have already spent years getting pretty good at it, if not great at it, and say, I like what they did here, or the way they opened that video up. why did they start with that line versus introducing themselves, right? Or look at the way they wrote the copy beneath, above the video on LinkedIn. I wonder why that was interesting how they had a space there beneath it. I think just really study the people who are doing it well. I mean, obviously the best scenario is you pay someone to take you to places that you're not going to get to on your own, and you're going to jumpstart yourself and go a few levels up from where you try to go by yourself. But at minimum, there's a lot of free content out there that you can just simply take and absorb and learn and put to use.
I think what you're saying is just be a student of the game.
That's it, man. Like there's a bunch of tactical stuff and there's the hooks and this and the retention. But at the end of the day, man, you got to put in the work. Everyone wants the silver bullet and that kind of stuff. And I'm all about the how-tos and the tactics and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of them. But at the end of the day, you got to be a student of the game.
Is it fair to say there's really no one silver bullet? I mean, you got to do a lot of things correctly. You got to do a lot of things well.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly.
I just wanted someone else to hear to say that and for everyone to hear it, because I feel like I tell it to everybody and people are like, what do you mean there's no silver bullet? I'm like, stop. Well, I could even give you 2 silver bullets and it might not work.
Well, that's the thing, right? So it's almost like if I was a trained Olympic boxer and you got in the ring today and you've never done boxing, I could show you a lot of things and I'd say, all right, you're going to go spar with Jimmy over here. And you go spar and you get your butt kicked and you go, dang, dude, you taught me all those things. Yeah, dude, but you didn't slip when you throw the jab. And I'd be like, yeah, you're right. But you told me. But just because I told you doesn't mean you know how to do it. So I'll be working with clients as an example, and I'll reframe a video outline or a script or a text post, whatever it is, and I'll do it in a couple of seconds. And they'll go, see, how did you think of that? Can you teach me how? And I'm thinking, well, I can give you the tactics and the how-tos and the strategies, but some of this is years worth of doing it where now I look at it and I just see stuff. So that takes time. You have to build that muscle memory, just like the boxing coach. You can learn and train with the coach, but you got to get in the ring and start actually boxing to build the muscle memory.
It's a phenomenal analogy, and I'm so glad that you're preaching to the choir here, because more people need to hear that as a reminder.
Yeah.
Before you go, tell everybody where they can find you and a little bit more about your business.
So our business is Impacts Marketing. So we help 7- and 8-figure B2B companies turn their video content into a 24/7 sales rep for the business. It's very founder and CEO led. So don't reach out to us if the founder or CEO decides, I don't want to build my personal brand. I don't want to get on video. Reality is that's the best way to grow a business now, hands down. The people and other people want to get involved later on. Awesome. Needs to be founder and CEO led. So we do that for companies. It's video marketing, strategy, training, coaching. And so best way to probably reach, LinkedIn's the best way to reach me other than email and whatnot. If you go to my LinkedIn profile and you scroll down the featured content section, it's also on our website.
Thank you for being part of the Hustle Nation.
Video sales rep series.
If you're serious about raising the bar in your personal and professional life and willing to go all in on your success, head over to hustleleaders.com. Here you can get access to our Hustle Productivity ebook, attend our Hustle Masterclass, or challenge yourself to the 30-day Hustle Challenge. Pairing these tools and training with the Hustle Nation podcast will help you advance to a whole new level.
This was totally different.
Until next time, stay hungry and inspire those around you to hustle.
I love that. And there are so many people listening that should be taking advantage of this advice, because video is king when it comes to marketing, no doubt. All right, Alex, thanks for being here. To all the listeners, we appreciate your ears. If you would, please go to Spotify, go to iTunes, leave us a review. We put a lot of the work into the show. We try to bring as much value as we can. So thanks. Till next time. Peace.